me personally, this is a very exciting topic. As you can see, I'm spending thousands of hours on this space. I'm also an author of this book, so you'll get a copy of this book if you pay attention and ask questions to me and all that, and learn as much as you can. So with that, let's get started. So today's session is sponsored by Bitcoin Bharat. So these it's basically involving speakers like me across different cities. They've done 100 plus sessions already. With that said, let's get started. So the title of today's talk is why Bitcoin fixes the curse on gold, right? So I want to keep this as interactive as possible. How many of you have heard of gold? Okay, all of you have heard of gold, which is good. How many of you have heard of Bitcoin? Wow, okay, that's also quite a okay. So almost 100%. So I think you don't need any lecture because you already heard of it, right? But what about the rest of the people in Bangalore and India and the world, right? How many people do you think would have heard of Bitcoin itself? 1%, 2%, 5%, maybe 10%, right? If you're talking about cities, but if you go to the villages, it's lesser. But gold is universal. Even the gold is universal. The gold price, what is the gold price, the latest gold price? How much? 1,65,000. 65, huh? No, not 40,000, sir. 24 carat is now. Last year is 1,50,000. I think he's right. 1,65,000. So the first time I bought, my mom bought gold, we remember like something like 10 grams used to be 10,000 or something. It's like very, 20 years, but anyway, it keeps going. Despite that, the title of the talk is what are the curses on gold? Right? Have you ever thought there is some curse on gold? Have you ever thought like gold would have some curses on gold? So I hope this will be interesting, right? We have heard of cuts to gold and cuts diamonds and all. That's a fan fiction, that's not real. But there are actual physical curses on gold. We are going to talk about that. And we'll try to connect that with the Bitcoin and how it kind of solves some of it. Obviously you can't make jewelry out of Bitcoin. But there are certain things we discuss that. How many of you, if you're a computer science and IT and stuff like that, like you AI or EC, you all learn about algorithms, big data algorithms, right? How many of you heard of Bloom filter? Has anybody heard of Bloom filter? It's a big data structure. It's a probabilistic data structure. Just take notes or put it somewhere, learn about it later. The cool thing is Bitcoin uses Bloom filter. Okay, so it's not some magical thing. There's actual underlying technology that is a conglomeration of 40 years of computer science progress, right? From 60s onwards. So right now, I think it's even 50 more years, right? So from ever since cryptography started, there have been a lot of technological updates. All of that has come into a final product of what we call as Bitcoin, and it's invented by somebody called Satoshi. Who's the inventor? Sorry. Okay, one thing guys, whoever participates well, they get. I have 10 copies, so you'll get the books for free, right? This retail is at 400 rupees or whatever, so you get a free copy. So just be more interactive. Okay, so somebody knows that. Satoshi Nakamoto, right? Is it a real name or a pseudonym? It's a pseudonym, right? So it's not a real name. So basically, a computer scientist has created this, but he's never revealed himself, right? That way. Okay, let's get that started. So let's do the next slide. Okay. So gold is the only asset with 5,000 years of history, right? It's been there forever. Okay. And it's been the oldest coins are in BC, right? The first invented coins are called custodian coins, someplace in Middle East, right? It's not in India. Okay, next slide. So that's the typical journey of history of gold coin, right? The first million happened in Rome. Actually, gold dinar cushions. The last one is what the Indian kings have created, right? So in fact, gold has been primarily used in the Middle East and Italian and all that. Then we have the Indian ones, right? So why is gold so valuable, right? Why is gold so valuable compared to other metals. Like aluminum is not valuable, right? Steel is not valuable. But why is gold so valuable? So we have rarity or scarcity. It's not that prevalent. It's also durable. You can make jewelry out of it. And then another important thing is divisibility, right? So the primary difference between gold and other metals is gold is a monetary metal, right? So what do we mean by monetary metal? It's basically used by central banks and other banks. Historically, it used to be a banking product. So there used to be something called gold standard. Has anybody ever heard of gold standard? What is gold standard? Gold standard is basically our money in the past used to be backed by gold. Does anybody know this? Like RBI has gold, right? It actually used to be 1:1 peg. That's called gold standard. But now we are no longer on the gold standard. And that's why RBI keeps printing money and we have inflation. The gold price keeps going up and all that. Right? Anyway, let's go to the next one. So this is a bit of stock for if you're investing enthusiast. So that chart on the left is MSCI all world, like this is US. So if you look at the US S&P 500, it looks as if it's going up, right? But if you measure the same thing in gold, it's actually going down for 25 years. Similarly, the whole world, you take all the stock market indexes in the world, it's called MSCI World Index. If you look at normally, it looks as if it's going up. But if you measure the same thing in gold, it's actually going down. So why is this happening? Because gold is going up so much that everything, if you measure it in, like if you measure the stock market indices, bond indices, savings, fixed deposit, everything you take, it's actually not working. So basically, your grandmom and mom were smarter investors than all the great hedge fund managers, all the great saving guys, all the stock market guys, and everything, right? Because they are already beating. They're just beating just by doing nothing. Just hold gold and everything sorts out like pray to God, and you buy gold, it's over, right? That's the power of gold, right? And nobody talks about this chart. Why? Because they lose the job, yeah. Like if they tell the truth, then if the doctor gives the right cure, who will come? Similarly, all the investment analysts will not tell you the truth because the moment tell you the truth was invest gold, you will not go to them. They want to create a complexity. They want to create some scene like, okay, there's something big coming, this stock, that stock. But just ask them 10 years later, nobody will tell you. 20 years later, what is 20 years? They don't even think of 20 years, right? But the moment you put a 25-year-old little, everything is gone, right? Nothing beats gold. That's the power of gold. That's why gold is also next slide. Yeah. That's why gold is also called store of value asset. Right? Store of value means, so it's basically an inflation protection and all that. Everybody kind of understands, right? You have some investment, you put it in gold or a house, right? House is also, real estate is also a little bit of store of value, but real estate is slightly complicated. We will not talk about that. So this is a total global wealth. Okay, so for example, I don't know what's your wealth. Maybe you have 50,000 rupees in bank account. My net worth is X crores or something. Joe we have, right? If you include all of them, right? Like all the people in the world, how many people are there? 8 billion or something, right? So if you include all of that, this is the number, right? This is 730 trillion. And what is India's GDP? Sorry? 4 trillion, okay. What is the India's GDP in PPP? Somebody stand and answer the question. Is that nominal or PPP, the 4 trillion? What is the difference between nominal and PPP? If somebody asks me, I get a book free, I'm telling you. Okay, no, you don't know. Okay, so how many of you here like economics? There's no economics. Okay. So basically, PPP is purchasing power parity. Okay, so it's essentially a rough measure of like lifestyle cost when compared to other countries in India. So generally, India is developing country, so the cost of living is low. So what they're saying is, if the cost of living was adjusted to US, then the PPP GDP will be different, and the GDP is roughly about 15 trillion to 20 trillion. So, how much is the US GDP? Guys, put a hand in stand or something.
29.
How much?
29.
29 billion. That's the right number. How much is US debt?
32 billion.
No.
35.
No.
There's a 35 billion.
Even higher. Slightly higher. 38 billion. Anyway, okay. Let's go to the next slide. So the point is, we've seen that a massive. Sorry, let's go over the pieces. See, we just discussed that gold is the best performing asset in 25 years, right? But in this massive asset pool, where is gold? This way. 16 trillion. I mean, right now it's gone up last year. This is an old slide, so it's like 32 trillion. But still, it's a very small thing, right? People are putting money in bonds, they're putting in cash, they're putting houses, this thing, nothing. But nothing. It's not performing. It's not performing that well, right? If you look at 10, like 20 years horizon, nothing is performing well compared to gold, right? But still, people are putting very little money in gold overall, right? Overall. Why do you think that is? I already told you the answer, right? In previously, what is the answer? Yeah, just throw the answer, guys. Don't think too much. Just blurt out answer. It could be stupid, but that's what makes you successful and creative. Because the world is, as we see, the world is stupid, right? They are putting so much money in the other asset, but not in gold. World is basically stupid. If you have common sense, just blurt it out, right? Just use common sense and blurt it out.
Gold is a safe investment.
Correct, but why are people not putting more money into gold?
Because there are a lot of options.
Can you just stand up and answer? Tell your name also. Varun. Okay, Varun, tell me.
Because we've got a lot of options apart from gold to invest in.
That is okay, but gold is the best performing asset in 20 years. Why are you putting in other assets? Yeah. They're not giving better returns. No, I just showed you the chart. MSCI, all world index, 25 years. It's not giving better returns. Small cap, can you tell me 25-year-old small cap? No, right? Small cap will give you better return 1 year when the hand is picked that 1 year. Right? Not 25 years. So if you look at long horizon, 25 years, nothing is beating gold. Okay. Yeah, you want to you stand up separately?
There is no actual usability of gold than just jewelry. But if you buy real estate or something, you can build a house, you can use that land for farming or something else. But for gold, it's just jewelry or a safe investment.
That is true. That's not the question. The question is, if something is giving that good results and the other thing is giving bad results, why are people putting so much money in the bad thing and not the good thing?
Because of lack of knowledge, lack of information.
That's one thing, okay? Yeah, but it's slightly more sinister.
And it's safe also. It is.
Okay, think first. Okay, think. Okay. Okay. We'll take one last answer. Here.
People need quick returns. Quick returns.
That's a good one. Actually, gold gives you returns very slowly, right? You have to wait for 10 years, 20 years. Your kids will give you jaan, but like you have to do that, right? Your kids will say, I've done CFA and all that. I'm a very smart financial advisor. But then mother will have to wait for 10 years, 20 years. Then her performance will be overtake, right? So gold doesn't give returns immediately. The other things give quick returns, whereas gold takes long time, right? See, if you look at just 1,000 years, there's nothing, right? Nothing has value. 1,000 years, Vijayanagara was a big empire. What is it now? There's nothing there. There's no real estate there. There's only stones. There's no value there, right? So that's called a store of value, right? But that's the point. Anyway, I think we'll progress quickly. Okay, so that's one answer. The other thing is, basically central banks don't like you investing in gold. That's the real answer. Okay? So they put a lot of brakes and diversions and hurdles for people's money to enter into gold. Right? For example, if you are earning when you start a job, you have to put money to PF, right? And the PF money can't be invested in anything except Indian bonds. That's the regulation. So they divert a lot of money into that instead of the high return or whatever, gold basically. Even if it's a store of value. So that's slightly conspiracy, but that's what it is. Okay? Let's go to the next one. Okay. Now, the topic of the discussion is not about financial advice. It's more of engineering problems. There are 4 engineering problems that I've identified with gold. That's a result of why it's not performing that well. Right? It's not on the first priority, right? We'll talk about that. So the first thing thing is called physical gross, right? So what do you think is the problem with gold? Why can't we use it as money? Yeah, go ahead.
It was being used, but it's not safe nowadays, and also gold value has increased a lot.
Okay.
And from when this notes and other silver and other metals started, people started like empires started minting currencies of their own. They went off from gold and they started, and they have currency notes which are like a promise that you'll pay it back, so they hold a value. So you can exchange those.
Okay, you've given a very lengthy answer. See, I'm not talking about the whole monetary angle. I'm just saying physically what is the problem. The first part is correct, right? It's a okay, next slide. So basically it's a soft metal. I can't use it as a note quickly because there's no denomination, right? If I want to pay you 50 rupees worth of something, right? How do I pay you 50 rupees worth of gold? I have to ship, yeah? It's not possible, right? It is technically possible, but practically it can't happen because the merchant is waiting for you to quickly pay, right? So we need a very quick way of confirmation. And if there's a 50 rupees note, I can just give you the 50 rupees note, it happens in less than a second. And there's a certain amount of trust given by the central banks, so we are okay with that, right? You got the point? So essentially the question is more about fast settlement or fast transaction, right? The gold I can't give you, right? Okay, let's go to the next slide. So basically why are coins minted in the past? We had coins minted in the past, and why was that happening? Because the kings gave a certain amount of authority and said standardization, right? Okay, let's go to the next slide. So the kings gave certain standardization. They said, okay, this is 1 gram, that's half a gram, etc., etc. And they put their own symbol. As a result of that, what happened is, it's got more simplicity, right? For essentially standardization. Why do we have weights? Without weights, do you think you can do anything in engineering? No, right? Everything breaks down. So distances, weights, these are all basic fundamental things we need so that we can speed up things, right? That's not there with gold. Oh. So the other thing is purity, right? How do I know that what you're giving me is like a pure gold, right? It could be like fake gold, it could be mixed copper, all of that. So that was another big issue, right? So that's why King said they put their face on it and they said, okay, I'm standardizing. If anybody counterfeits, that became a crime, right? So they said no counterfeiting of gold coins. Okay? So that way what happened is there is a standardization. So they created standardization and they kind of eliminated that physical part a little bit, right? The physical curse part was kind of removed because of the thing. But I think, they solved that, but that worked for almost 2,000 years, right? We've seen the history, 5,000 years of history. When was the last time we kind of used gold coins for commerce? Like day-to-day commerce. When do you think that would have happened? Like, do you know your grandfather using gold coins or great-grandfather using? So my great-grandmother used to use annas, right? We used to have coins, but it was a copper coin, not like the rupee coins tool, which doesn't have intrinsic value. Copper had intrinsic value. So we used to use that, right? But I think you have to go 300 years back. So that time people were actually using silver coins primarily, right? The word rupee, you know how it comes? It comes from rupaya, which is basically a silver coin, right? So they had actually weight of silver, 2 grams of something, 10 grams, and that had that. Okay? So yeah, let's quickly go. Okay. So the one thing is, if I have to pay you directly, right? Okay, I'll give you a coin, right? What if I have to pay you, not directly, you're in some other city, right? I have to settle with you, you're in a different city, you're in Hyderabad and in Bangalore. How do you do it? Can I throw a gold coin and magically it will come to you? No, right? It doesn't come like that. So if I throw it, it just comes here. So how do you solve that problem? Right? That is the next big thing, because as humanity grew, we our empires become very big, the commerce became really fast. Right? We were trading we were not just trading with neighbors, we were trading with cities and states and countries and all that, right? Because of that, there was a need for somebody who can do something like, hey, you want to pay that person, I'll do it for you, right? And who did that job in the past? Yeah? Who did the settlement job? Like for example, if you want to pay your friend in Bangalore, in Bangalore, this is Bangalore. So let's say you want to pay your friend in Hyderabad. How will you do it? Who will do it for you? Banks will do it for you. So basically, this was the proto-banks. So the first banking in recorded history was done by a guy called Genghis Khan. How many of you heard of him? Genghis Khan, everybody's heard, right? So we know him as a ruthless warrior and all that, right? But the reality is, that is also a side of it. But he is the first person who started the proto-banking. So there was something called flying money in China. So the way it works is similar to Hawala. I don't know how many of you know what Hawala is? Okay, you know. Okay, you don't want to admit, right? That's fine. So basically, Hawala is like an illegal thing. It's not a banking thing, but it's an illegal thing. But that was not illegal back then. So the way it works is you give money to somebody, okay, and then that person, that merchant, banking person, would take that money and put a ledger. He'll say, I've got money from Krishna, 5,000 rupees I need to give to Raghu, right? That's it. And then he lives in the city or something. In fact, you don't need the other side to know the name. They'll give you a token, right? Like Pushpa, you've seen the movie Pushpa, right? This is a token, that's Hawala. So they give you that half part of the note or something like that. By the way, at that time that was not illegal, right? So they'll give you that, and then you give the half part of the other note or something. They had various things, not just notes, some sticks. You break the stick in half, exact fitting, a lot of things. By the way, the word stockholder, right? We heard of the stockholder. It comes from the UK stock clearing houses, where they literally had a stock, like a stick, and you used to break it. They throw it, it breaks into two, right? So they'll say one is for one person, the other one is the other person, and there was an implicit way of matching it, like a key lock mechanism, right? Because if you break it, it won't fit it, right? So humanity tried different things of establishing some amount of value, right? Yeah, so the okay, let's how to transport them at great distance. Banks solve the problem, right? But yeah, this one you might not know, or most people won't know. Okay, next slide. So if you want to buy a home today, what is the most popular way? You go to a bank, you show your job thing, income thing, they give you a loan for buying a home, right? But can I do that with gold? Can I say, I want to buy 10 kilos of gold? Can you give me 10 crores of, let's say I want to buy 2 kilos of gold, is now very expensive. I want to buy 2 kilos of gold, which is what, 2.5 crores. This is worth of a house in Bangalore, let's say. Will they give me a loan for that? But why is that they don't give you a loan for that? Think conspiracy, think sinister or something. Yeah, go ahead. It's volatile. Yeah, it's okay, it's volatile. Now, house price is also volatile, right? It goes up and down also, right?
But usually, house is something for the personal things. And like gold doesn't come in if it doesn't have something properties like you can't tell the growth is consistent. House is that belonging so that you can have it and you can take it and
okay, that's a good answer. What's your name?
Nikki.
Nikki, okay. You also get the book. Okay, remember to collect it after that, okay? The answer is not correct, or not fully correct, but still you get the book because you tried, okay? Thank you. So, yeah. So the question is, then the banks give loans for holidays, right? You want to buy a car, depreciating asset, they give you a loan for that. You want to go to holiday, they give you a loan for that. Or you want to do a wedding or something, they give you a, so today there are loans for everything, except for they will not let you invest in gold. Okay? And the reason is not that gold is volatile, this thing, that thing, it's not that. They can actually hold the custody of gold. Like I want to buy 2 kilos, you keep it with you, you give me 1 gram or 10 grams as I keep paying the EMI. And then it should be fine, perfectly fine, there's no problem. It's basically not that decision, it's a policy decision by RBI. RBI forbids if you actually ever read a loan agreement, in that it say you are not allowed to invest in gold. So RBI forbids it as a policy decision. Because RBI thinks gold is an unproductive asset, so they don't want you to invest in it. Whereas they're okay if you blew it on a holiday in Dubai or something, right? If you want, I can get a loan of 10 lakhs for a holiday just like that, right? But if the moment I say I want to invest in gold, no, I'll not get it, right? So it's a policy decision. Again, quasi-conspiracy. They don't like gold, right? They don't tell you that they don't like Bitcoin. It's just they don't like it, right? Now that's a financial curse. But what happens if we could borrow and invest in gold? What will happen then? Is that a good trade or no? Good investment decision or no? You think it's a good decision? Now please stand up and tell me. It's okay if you're wrong, right? There's no pressure.
So if we borrow and invest in gold, the value of gold will keep on increasing.
Yeah.
And the amount we borrow is similar.
Wonderful. What's your name?
Yes.
Please give a round of applause for this. You basically got the point like spot on, man. I mean, this is simple common sense you need to think of, right? How much are you paying in a loan? How much is the value of the asset going up, right? If gold is going up every year 20, 30, 40%, and my interest rate is only 10%, am I making money or not making money? I am making money, right? That's a simple logic, right? So we could do that very easily, right? But it's just that banks don't let you do that, right? Because of some whatever policy, okay? You get a book, man. You get a book. This is the exact type of thinking in the book also. We talk about create simple common sense things. For example, in the book I talk about how do you measure a value of real estate. So today somebody says 2 CR, right? How do you measure it? Like why is the value 2 CR? Why not 3 CR, 2 CR, 1 CR, or 50 lakhs, right? Do you know how asset is valued? Like how do we actually value an asset? Is there a formula? Like can I put in Excel and say, come up with a number? Do you know how it can be done? If you study CFA, then you'll know it. But the point is, there's something called discounted cash flow analysis. I'm just not going to go too deep, but the way it works is like this, right? So logic is roughly how much is your borrowing cost, how much is the asset going to appreciate, that's there. But the main way it works is, what is the annual rent on the house, right? And then how many years do you think it will give you, right? 20, 30, 40 years, right? And then you back calculate, use an interest rate formula. It's like a Fourier series, so you have Fourier series and all that, right? Similar to that. Check it up. Like if you're curious, once you get my book, go and read about DCF, what DCF is. It's very valuable. It helps you understand all these things in the future, right? Like that sort of thing. Anyway, so the point is, banks don't lend you money. Whatever. That's a financial cost. If banks did lend you money to invest in gold, what happened to the price of gold? It will go up even further, right? It will go up to now it's 1.5 lakhs, 10 grams, it will be 10 lakhs. Then what will happen to your mom and my mom? It will be like, what is happening? They'll become even more prouder. They'll look at you like a foolish person because they're invested in gold and 10 lakhs. Already they're sitting on some 10 CR or something, right? While you're working hard and you're making nothing, right? They'll be like even more prouder, even more stubborn, right? It becomes like that, right? So that is not happening. Why? Because banks are stopping. They're holding that. Okay, let's go to the next one. Right? Okay, we talked about this. Okay. By the way, before I go into further section, this topic I'm trying to put at the investment angle. If you want the technological angle, we will get into that. Meanwhile, feel free to ask any questions. Right? Anything about anything, Bitcoin, crypto, this thing. Not investment also, technology also, it's okay for me. Right? Because I spend a lot of time. Last one, legal curse. Okay, what is the legal curse? So, today we think rich people are, we all aspire to be rich. Right? We all want to be rich. Let's say you want to start a company, become a unicorn guy, make $1 billion, right? But what are the problems rich people have? Right? Have you ever thought about that? The rich people also have the problems. They're called rich people problems, right? But they also have problems. For example, normal people don't have to pay tax. If you're in that 4 or 5 lakhs bracket below, right? You don't have to pay tax. But once you start making money, you have to pay tax. Similarly, if you have a lot of money, then there are a lot of other problems, right? The biggest problem is political pressures, right? Even bigger is this one, Next slide. Confiscation. Right? When things turn back, right? So there is something called confiscation. If you are a history enthusiast, you can read about it. So essentially, pretty much all governments in the world, pretty much all governments in the world have confiscated gold from the investors, at least the rich investors. So famously in US in 1933, we had more than $10,000 worth of gold they confiscated, right? And why would they confiscate? Because it's a physical asset, right? You can have 100 grams, but if you have 1 kilo, 10 kilo, 50 kilo, 100 kilo, it will be confiscated, right? That's the, again, we don't talk about this, but it's an implicit understanding. As for the income tax, how much can you have, how much gold do you think you can have without any questions being asked by them? What is the limit? Do you know that limit? There's a limit, by the way. Even if you bought it with your own money, there's a limit. What is the limit? The limit is 500 grams if you're a married woman. If you're an unmarried woman, the limit is 250 grams. For a man, it is even lower. How much is it? 150 grams. So if you have 1 kilo, if I wear a 1 kilo shirt and I keep roaming, instead of letting them actually take the shirt and say, how did you buy it? Give me a full receipt for that. They can ask it. And that is for 1 kilo. If I am wearing 10 kilo shirt, they can invoke something called National Security Act, right? Which you will never, we don't hear because normal people, right? Rich people have, rich people problem. This is a rich people problem. So if you have more than 10 kilos, they can invoke something called National Security Act, which comes under RBI's jurisdiction, right? And they can confiscate it for national security. What is the reality? What national security there? It's not like gold is Pakistan, right? It's not killing me or killing you or anything. But they will not talk about it. They just say, well, it's a national security here. It's a blanket statement. They can do anything. They can confiscate it. Is confiscation a good thing or a bad thing? Even if it's for country's purpose. Okay, let's take some political views here. Okay, just tell me if it's good or bad. Just stand up and tell me. Be courageous. Take whatever stand you want. Go ahead. Is it a good thing or a bad thing, confiscation? It's a difficult question, right? Personally, I don't want my gold to go to government. But I'm okay if your government is okay to go. I don't care because my gold is, I need to keep my gold. Your gold, I have an opinion, right? My gold, I have a strong no, right? So, it's a socially okay thing, but personally a bad thing. That's at the core of capitalism and socialism discussion, right? But the point is, generally speaking, economically speaking, confiscation is a bad thing. Overall, all the countries in Africa have very weak property rights, right? The richest country in the world have very strong property rights. Which country is the strongest property rights of all? Switzerland. And which is the richest country in the world? Switzerland. Switzerland is one of the richest countries in the world, right? Okay, let's go to the next one. Yeah. 100 laws in the US. No, the point is, it's like a full Ramayana story now, right? We started with gold as the best asset. We talked about 4 curses. We are coming to the same circle, full circle. Even though gold has so many curses which you don't know, which you now know, right? Did you know all these curses before? No, now you know. But still it is performing so good. But what if those curses were somehow magically lifted? They were no longer there. What happened? What do you think will happen then? What do you think? Just take an opinion. Somebody, what do you think will happen? You tell me. What do you think happen if the curses are magically lifted?
People have more power than the government.
People will have more power than the government. Okay. Okay. But what will happen to gold?
So maybe its value may decrease.
It decreases. The curses are lifted. It will not decrease, it will increase, right? The value will even more increase because the curses are, let's say confiscation is not possible. Ampani will buy 1 ton of gold, right? The price of gold will go up, right? Or all rich people can happily invest. Right now they can't because they have to fear.
Available to everyone.
Now it's also available to everyone. Anyone can invest. The problem is it's not available to the rich people because of the confiscation risk. Okay. It's available to the poor people and middle class, but it's not available to the rich people because of the confiscation risk. Okay, that risk is there pretty much in all countries except in Switzerland. Okay. Anyway, so all I'm saying is, even though so much problems are there, it's still performing very well. This is a takeaway, right? If somehow magically we can remove those curses and we find a gold-like quasi investment, that's going to be the big bang investment of all. That's the mother of best investments, right? That's the point. That's the discussion here. Let's go to the next one. Okay, next. Yeah. Okay. Now we've come to the core thesis. Why are we talking about Bitcoin? It is like gold, but it is digital gold, right? Why I've spent like thousands of hours like a mad person? This is the reason, right? This is the reason. So, if Bitcoin is not just an investment store of value, it's like better than gold and without the curses of gold, right? Because even though it's digital, it's got all these beautiful, there are some problems like you can't make jewelry, but apart from that, it doesn't have the curses, which means I am going to be, in 10 years I'll be very rich. Not just rich, I'll be very rich if I have some Bitcoin. I'm just joking. You'll also, like, that's a joke, right? Anyway, let's go. Oh, wait. So yeah, and Bitcoin just like gold, but slightly better because it's programmable, right? Bitcoin is basically a giant Excel sheet. Okay, it's like a giant Excel sheet, Google Sheet. How many of you use Google Sheets? Okay. So the way Google Sheet works, as you know, if I make an edit in one cell, it will reflect to you also, right? Like that's the thing about Google Sheets. It's a universal ledger. Bitcoin is also something like that. It's a universal ledger, except there is a slightly complicated way of how transactions happen using something called mining. You've heard of Bitcoin mining? Yeah, that's a mechanism for basically settling transactions and all that. See, I'm not going to go too much into that technology because it's very complicated. I'm still learning. After 2,000-3,000 of research, I'm also still learning. There's so much to learn. So the point here is, it's like a giant Google Sheets, and if I transfer money to, Rishabh, right? That fact will be recorded, but it won't be Rishabh. It will be something called public key cryptography, right? How many of you have heard of public key cryptography? You have it. Nobody. You're doing computer science, right? There's no cryptography topic chapter. There is a topic, right? Okay. What is public key cryptography?
I'm not sure of public cryptography, but the theory there are two keys will be generated. One is private and one is public. The private will be completely for us only, and we will share the public key to perform the operations and send it back to us. So I think you can do not.
That's only public key cryptography. What you said is correct. It's a public key cryptography. It's a cryptography breakthrough that happened, I think, in the 80s or something, right? So before that, all the human history, there was a problem of transferring information safely, right? So for example, I can encode the information and then put some random gibberish. I send it to you, right? But how do I send you, what is the encoding mechanism I will use? Like for example, let's say I'm saying there is a war happening in this place, let's say Mysore. Let's talk about that war, right? I can say I'm shifting the letters by 1 and then I becomes J or something like that, right? You get the point. That's the fundamental thing of cryptography, right? But how do I give you the information that you have to shift by 1? What if that information is caught by enemies? Then it's useless, right? So until public key cryptography came, all cryptography prior to that in human history was prone to this issue. Like you need to know what is the encoding mechanism along with the actual encoded stuff, right? You need that encoded stuff, like say I'm in Mysuru, you will be like J something something, that text, and you also need to encode it. But public key cryptography changed that. It said by using some magic. It's actually literally close to magic, right? By using that magic, you're able to basically encode public information without the risk of revealing to others, right? Read about that if you're interested, but that's the fundamental thesis of Bitcoin, right? Not just Bitcoin, if you're using anything, you're like your HTTPS or that HTTPS in the website. What does S stand for? SSL, right? In the back end, this is what is happening. right? So in the backend publicly used, you don't know that, but it's like, it's all UX, right? So anyway, it's like that. You have the scarcity, you have the transportability, you have programmability, right? You can do programming on Bitcoin. We'll talk about that briefly. But there's one problem with Bitcoin, which is not there with gold, which is the last one, universal acceptance. Today, everybody buys gold. Everybody knows what gold is and all that, but Bitcoin nobody knows, right? Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Obviously, it depends, right? If you it's a good thing if you're an investor because now you know the thing. People think crazy, you're crazy and all that. But eventually, you write books and then you talk to people and educate them. Hopefully, I'm no longer crazy, right? Like 5 years back, people didn't talk to me and all that. Like now, it's like, okay, this guy is something. That sort of thing, right? Slowly, the acceptance is growing. 10 years later, 30 years later, I think you guys basically, when in your 20s now, in your 40s, right? I'm 40 now. So in your 40s, I'm sure you will be putting just like that without thinking much, 10% of your money income into Bitcoin, right? Like today you pay EMIs, right? Your parents would pay EMIs. You will be like, okay, 10%, right? That's all. But anyway, so it's rapidly growing. It's not universal yet. Okay, next slide. How Bitcoin breaks the physical curse, right? We discussed physical curse, gold coins, standardization issue. That's no longer there. Bitcoin is like Google Sheets by default. I can transfer you 0.001 if you want, or whatever it was. It's basically an Excel sheet. It's a SQL database at the end of it. Right? It's like electronic. Next one. Technological curse. It's got this inherent node. Millions of nodes are distributed, transferable, and all that. So it's digital by default. It's internet native. It runs through HTTPS and TCP/IP and all that. So it's very digital native. So it's got no transportation problem. In fact, it's the best mechanism, least censorship resistant. So for example, if I want to transfer to Pakistan, I can't do it because of India and China, Pakistan rules, right? Nigeria and all these countries, we can't send it, right? But with Bitcoin, there's no restriction. I can send to anyone, anywhere, nobody can stop it because it's a decentralized mechanism, right? So in fact, in terms of that, it's like 100% better than anything else, right? It's just that the other side doesn't accept it yet, right? It could take another 10, 20 years. The financial curse. This is my company, okay? We're actually trying to solve this issue of you having to borrow money and invest in Bitcoin or anything else, or basically borrowing against Bitcoin, right? So you have Bitcoin, you want to borrow against it, we help you in a decentralized way. Again, it's slightly complicated, but it's not too complicated. There's a concept of multi-sig. Use that, and we enable you perfectly legally, right? Without breaking any of the regulations, RBI and all that, right? So we are working on that. We're very excited. Launch is like a month or something. So if you want to learn more or something, reach out to me. We can talk about it later. But essentially, the way it works is there's a concept of multi-sig, the concept of joint custody. Like if you are putting money in a gold deposit, right, locker, there's two keys, right? Have you seen that? Yeah? Your mom has one key and the banker has one key, right? You go that's a joint custody. Okay? So similarly, in Bitcoin also there's a concept of multi-sig, where the public key where you put the money, the ownership can be distributed to not just one person, it can be 2 people, 3 people, 4 people, whatever. It's a very fascinating property of that, but cryptography and all that. Again, so using that we are able to break the financial curse. The last bit, the next slide. So the legal curse, right? So let's say Ambani invests, I don't know, he has so much money. Let's say he invests $1 billion in Bitcoin, right? He buys 10,000 Bitcoin or something. How difficult is it for government to confiscate that, right? It's not impossible, okay? Just to be clear. It's not perfect. It's not like some superpower. It's at least 1,000 times more difficult, right? Because it's not physical. He can send it to some other person. He can say it's not mine. There's so many alibis, right? Oh, it's getting a little bit uncomfortable, I know that, but the point is ultimately reality is reality, right? So, reality doesn't have a political agenda, right? So, it's like gold or bullets or whatever. They are facts of life, right? We can't take a socialism, capitalism angle. Reality is, yes, bad people use Bitcoin, good people also use Bitcoin. In fact, people in Nigeria were suffering the worst inflation of their generation. They're also using Bitcoin to protect themselves from inflation, right? So this is not a political discussion, it's more of a practical thing, right? It's 100 or 1,000 times difficult to confiscate from even the richest people, right? From a poor, normal people like us, it is nearly impossible because the government doesn't have the apparatus, enforcement apparatus to come after us, okay? It's not just Indian governments is literally okay, right? There are much worse governments in Africa, which are hell-bent on confiscating your assets, homes, all of this. And that results in intergenerational poverty, right? Why are Africans poor? The fundamental reason is not because they don't have resources or something. The fundamental reason is the governments there are very unstable and they keep confiscating wealth just like that. All these dictators, they get into that, they keep confiscating property. So you never build. Say for example, today you're here sitting, you might think I cracked this case set or smart and all that, right? But what if you're born into a poor person in Bihar? You would not make it here, right? That's a very simple thing. Unless there is some magic, you're like a magical 100,000 IQ person, right? Like 1 in a billion chance, right? Same thing for me also, right? It's not that the people in I come from a town, like half of them poor, right? I could be, my dad is poor and it's over. And that's called intergenerational poverty, right? So the biggest way to break the intergenerational poverty is by giving property rights. So the countries which have property rights have very strong wealth, like no, Switzerland, right? Switzerland has the, I told you, right? Strongest property rights, richest country. India is like 19th on the ranking. We're also 19th on the poverty scale. 90th, right? Our GDP is just 3,000, right? Switzerland is 110,000. So if you just go to Switzerland tomorrow, you will make 5x, just like that, compared to America. Because they are a richer country, right? Anyway, I'm not saying it's impossible, it's 100x. Right? That makes it good enough for me, right? Yeah, let's go to the next one. So, what is the total addressable market of Bitcoin Bharat? It's at least 100 times more. Bitcoin is now what? Who knows the price of Bitcoin? Latest price. Or last known price? 87 lakhs. You're saying the latest price. Yeah, I mean, that's about correct, right? So, it used to be, what was the peak you saw? 84. No, it was even higher. What was the peak? 2025 May was the peak, right? It was something like 1.2 CR. Okay, 1.2 CR, right? I saw Bitcoin when it was, do you know how low I saw for first time? 20,000 rupees. I bought my first Bitcoin at 20,000 rupees. Now you're thinking, why am I giving lectures? Like, why am I not in a yard, right? The reason is, I sold them like a foolish person. I thought there is something better will come, some other dash, I initially dash that went down. I envisioned something else that went down, right? Then I finally realized why only Bitcoin is going up, even though it's slow growth, but others are not stable. And I have written a, so it's let's say, I went to this place, I got a t-shirt. For me, it's like I got a book because of my 10-year-old journey. So hopefully you don't make the mistakes I made. If you are like, see, this is for you 10 years later, not today. If you don't read it, but essentially, if you want to start investing, read the book because it's very, very helpful for you to understand how investing works, right? So don't make that mistake of investing in anything before reading the book, okay? So if I had stuck to my Bitcoin, I would probably just chilling in some yacht, right? But anyway, the point is, the good news is, we still have much more upside left. At least that's what we believe as investors, right? So we believe there's at least another 100x if we just hold on to it, right? That sort of thing. Let's see what happens, right? Okay. Anyway, the current value is 2 trillion. There's another 100x. That's what we believe. Let's do the next. So essentially, what Bitcoin is at the core of it is combining a good property of the board, which is scarcity, durability. You can say divisibility, right? All of that. Banking, which is digital, transportable, all the good stuff, right? I can pay you phone payment, I can pay you 50 times, I can pay you once a week, right? In fact, in Visa, what is the processing speed? 25,000 transactions per second. Visa can do that many, okay? Bitcoin can do how many transactions per second? Who's the guy who will price of Bitcoin? Use it now. Stand up. What's your name? Pawan. You want a book with Pawan? Okay, answer this, I will give you a book. What is the transaction speed of Bitcoin? It's about 7, you still get the book, okay? So it's 7 transactions per second. It's very low compared to Visa and all that. That's the common complaint. There's something called Lightning Network. How many have you heard of Lightning Network? If you give this answer, 100% book for each. Nobody? Nobody has heard. Okay, it's a layer 2 technology. See, this is where if you're interested, you can learn more and build and develop and all that. There's so much to work on this top level layer and all that. If you're a software guy, right, if you're coding. Okay, that can do million transactions per second. In fact, there's no theoretical limit because of how the nodes work. So you can do billion transactions per second, which is basically insane amount, right? Like you can do that kind of thing. Anyway, next slide. Okay, next slide. Yeah. So we talked about big data structure, Bloom filter in the beginning, right? We just talked about it. I hope you'll go refer that because it will be very helpful if you want to get into data science also. Okay? But if that's just one topic, there are so many other things. Okay? If you're interested, you can learn. Right? Yeah, next slide. Yeah, it's not just that, there is more topics. Right? So all of this is there. So much happening. Next slide. Still goes on. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So does it mean Bitcoin is like a useless thing because it's so complex? No, right? Because iPhone is also super complicated. Right? iPhone is also very complicated. But we all use iPhone just like that, right? That's called, what is that called? What is the technical term for that? OOPS. How many know OOPS? What does OOPS stand for in computing? Computer science. Object oriented. What are the 4 things in that? One person stand and then. One person stand, that person gets to answer. Okay, what's your name? Aman. Okay, go ahead.
Polymorphism, encapsulation, inheritance, data interpretation.
Last one?
Inheritance.
No.
Data interpretation.
Data interpretation.
Abstraction.
Yeah. Come on. Okay, what does encapsulation mean?
Like combining parts.
Yeah, so encapsulation is taking all the things and showing only one thing, some small user interface. That's like iPhone, right? Similarly, Bitcoin is also could be very complicated, but encapsulation, if you have all of that, you will not see. Right? It becomes very simple for dumb people like us, right? Anyway, so we are at the end of our lecture. Okay? Yeah, I think we're on time, 1 hour done. So we'll take like maybe this slide. Okay, go back to the previous thing. Next. This slide or next one. Yeah. Anything you want to talk about, we'll take over the questions or anything in general. Okay? We are almost at the end of our talk. Any other questions also okay? Anything you want to know about investing? Okay. Big data, data science, AI.
So, if you see the graph of gold, it's always like this, upwards or it's stable most of the time. That's the reason people invest in gold as a safe asset. But Bitcoin, it's like it's not stable, vulnerable. Why so?
Why so? Okay. So by the way, gold is also volatile. You know what the volatile gold is? On an annual rate, it's about 25%. Okay, we see it as not so volatile in rupees because rupee is losing about 3 to 5% compared to dollar every year, right? So if you're in India, investing in gold is slightly better than if you're in US already. So the reason is, even though gold is volatile, you don't see much because it's such a big asset, right? Whereas Bitcoin is a very smaller asset, so that's why volatility is high. But the volatility is getting low. Last 1 year, the volatility is practically zero. We are stuck at $9,000. Right? So the point is, the volatility will come down eventually, right? As the asset becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. Does that answer your question?
So, but yesterday,
Not your heart's content, no? Not your heart's content, right? Okay, tell me. Yeah.
yesterday, like almost 40,000, it went down Bitcoin.
In rupees, right?
Yeah, into.
Ah, okay. Yeah. It's a big asset. Yeah, the 89 lakhs asset, 40,000 is 1% or something. Yeah, that happens. That happens with everything. No? Stocks also happens. Tomorrow, if let's say Amazon starts firing people, like have you heard the news, right? Then what happens to real estate banker? That will also go down, right? You can't say. So that's volatility is a fact of life. The point is, don't worry about volatility. Look at the historical. What is the 10-year return on Bitcoin? How much is it?
I have no idea.
You have no idea. I have no idea. It is 100,000%. So Bitcoin is 100x better than anything others, everything else. So all the stocks, all the indices, all this, that thing. Like I told you, gold is better than on a 25-year-old scale thing. Bitcoin just 10 years old itself is better than anything. I didn't put that because I don't want to talk about investing in Bitcoin, right? But you can go check it. If you look at 15 years in Bitcoin, it is crazy, right? If you invested 15 years back, you don't need to study. Forget, you don't need to study. Your kids don't need to study. Their kids don't need to study. It's over. You won the life, basically, right? It's like it started at 1 penny or something. Then it hit $1 around 28,000, 2010ish. Right now 80,000, which means it has went up 80,000x in the last 12 years. So yeah, it's like the best performing asset in the world. But nobody talks about it. Why? Because why? Conspiracy, guys. We discussed, right? Conspiracy. Like governments don't like store of value assets. They can't control it. They can't control gold. They can't control uncontrollable things. They want you to put in PF, FD, safe. They call it safe and secure. But the reality is losing value, right? That's all. Anyway, that's the backstory. If you want to chat. Any next question or any follow-up questions? Yeah, go ahead.
How are interest rates set by RBI? Like
How are interest rates set by RBI?
RBI.
Dude, you need you are becoming my disciple, man. You are very. This is how I feel. Day in, day night. Okay. If you ask this question, right, you're already better than 99.99% people in terms of investing. The way the rates are set by RBI, the reality I'll tell you, there's no rule. They just throw it up. It's like a random thing. Okay. They have a sense of where economy is going, right? For example, if they think that inflation is going up in the last year, they'll try to hike the rates so that inflation cools down, right? But it's a very vague thing. It's not based on any mathematics, or it's not based on any scientific principles. It's kind of like their whims and fancies, basically. In reality, that's the reality. If you go and talk to anybody, they'll not say that, but that's the reality, right? They have two mechanisms for controlling inflation, high level, right? See, what if they simply stop printing money? Do you know that RBI prints money? Do we all agree to that, right? There's no debate on that, right? We all agree to that. Why can't they just stop printing money? Peg it with gold, inflation is gone, right? They don't want to do that, right? If they just peg it with gold and say it was 1 rupee or 100 rupees is this much gold, okay, it's become a gold-backed currency. There's no interest rate problem. But they don't want it. They want to play the game because they want to stay in the job, right? Again, that's the reality. Yeah, I hope I answered your question, right? Or you want me to talk about it? Okay, so the answer is yeah. Again, it's dependent on inflation expectation. They have an expectation of inflation and they set a rate. The worst part is inflation itself is based on that. So, like if I know RBI is cutting rates, what I do is I go invest. If I think RBI is putting up rates, I will not invest. That's how the market reacts. So there's no clean answer to that. This is a complicated answer. Like there's a circular effect. right? People expectation, RBI has one view, based on that the economy behaves one way, and then based on that they have to course correct and all that. So it's basically a messy thing. Their job is basically messy. There's no rule, like do it all the way kind of thing. Okay. We take one or two more questions and then we wrap it up. Okay, please stand up.
So like you mentioned that there's a physical scarcity of gold and then like you can't hold more than a certain amount of gold.
It's a quasi-legal law. It's not really legal. It's like they don't talk. It's like national security.
So what about gold bonds? Like, because a lot of people I've heard invest in gold bonds rather than real gold and they hold.
How many gold bonds is Adani holding? How many kilos do you think? Not much. It's maybe 1 CR out of his entire net worth. So yeah, you are forbidden from that also. Essentially, they don't want you to invest in gold. Let me put it that way. Or the simpler thing is, let's say you put in sovereign gold bonds or something. Or they'll say, boss, we don't have gold. Again, national security, sorry, we'll give you 10% of the investment, right? They can say that. They've done it in the past. See, at one point, rupee was backed by silver. US dollar was backed by gold. They said we will not back it, we will cut it, we'll give you instead of it was about $20 for the ounce of gold. They said now it's $35 per ounce of gold. So they basically halved it, right? Now it's even worse. Now they're touching $5,000 in gold, right? But the 38 revaluation. So it's like they can do anything essentially. If they have the power of controlling that. See, if you want to invest, let's say 100 kilos in gold, right? First you have to work very hard to make it, right? It takes a lot of time. But then I give you a solution. The solution is not straightforward. Then you have to buy a village home, you have to buy 10 homes in different villages, dig the earth, put it there, put some small marker there so that you not forget it. That's the way you want to do it. You have to do that. Even then, if somebody knows somehow you have 100 kilos of gold, then what happens? They'll first kidnap you, right? Then they'll say, okay, I know you have it. If you bring the gold, I'll kill you or kill your daughter or something. That's what happens.
Do you think any other cryptocurrency can reach that value up to the Bitcoin value?
Yeah, I told you no. If I knew the answer to that 10 years back, what would I have been doing? I have not taken any lecture, I've been in York, right? I learned the lesson the hard way. That's it in the book, so you can do it, right? That's the short answer. Long answer is every other goddamn cryptocurrency tried in that, right? There are like 100,000 cryptos or something, right? Every cryptocurrency comes, like your Dogecoin, I think you guys would have invested in Doge or something, right? Like what did you guys invest in? No, okay. What's is there some Solana or something is there, no? Huh? How many invested in Solana? Raise your hand. What crypto did you guys anyone invest apart from Bitcoin?
Example.
I think you're too young maybe. Like somebody 5 years into job or something, they would have done something. Solana. Your elder brother might have invested in something, right? Or something, right? Like Solana, there's some Dogecoin, some other shit. Something comes up. NFTs. How many of you invested in NFT? Okay, so you guys are not investing in it. Anyway. So yeah, all of this came up, but nothing sticks. Right? So the reason is complicated, but the short answer is humanity or the investors in cryptocurrency as a whole have kind of decided Bitcoin is the thing and others are not worth investing. So it's like all the billionaires who are investing, all the big money is coming here, and for that reason it's like there. And there's very, very little chance, like 1 in a million chance or even less chance of something else taking the world. Anything is possible in life, but I'm saying the probability is very, very, very low and getting lower by the day. Right? And there's a something called network effect. Have you heard of network effect? Okay. So how many of you here want to become entrepreneurs? Create the next big startup and become rich and all that. That's good. Okay, who else wants to do something techy? You don't want to do it, you're wearing a jacket, right? You don't want to do it. Who wants to become the next big Facebook or WhatsApp? I want to do one. Okay, who else wants to do something techy stuff or all that? Right? Okay, you were there. Right. Okay. So if you want to become an entrepreneur and do something, first thing you need to know is something called network effect. Right? What is network effect? Does anybody know what network effect is? You can say. Does anybody know what network effect is?
Effect caused by networking.
Stand up. Yeah, but tell me.
Some effect caused by networking will
Okay. That's a networking effect, yeah, that's not network effect. If you're able to networking, you're able to do it, that's like networking effect. All of these people do it, right? It's not network effect. Network effect is for geeks like us, techie guys, right? We don't have the money, but we want to make it big and all that, right? So like, if you invented Facebook or WhatsApp, right? How many clones of WhatsApp have been there? How many of you have heard of Hike? Anybody use an app called Hike? You use the Hike? Heard of it, right? That was started by the son of Bharti Mittal, right? Sunil Mittal, sorry, not Bharti Mittal, Sunil Mittal, right? They put in massive amounts of money, 1 billion they put in, okay? They put massive marketing, but that didn't take off. And the reason is this crucial thing called network effect, right? Again, I talk about that in the book, right? So read the book, you'll get it more. Sorry. So basically, what it is like this. In fact, all businesses have an element of network effect, but the techie ones have lot of it, right? I can create a clone of WhatsApp in 5 minutes. Go to GitHub, right? Pull the thing, create, and then we can make an app. We too can chat. But what's the point? Right? We need all your friends. Will all your friends come to this app? No, right? Because they are thinking, my friends are already in WhatsApp, so why will they come? So it's like, because all of us are in one group, we all want to be in that group. That's called network effect, right? And so it is not an intrinsic value. It's not like that WhatsApp software code itself has some great value. No, right? It gets value because people are there, right? So getting the people, first few people is the hard part. But once there are, let's say WhatsApp got acquired Facebook at 20 million valuation, then they have 700 million users. Getting the first 100 million users, in fact, I would say for a given app, any app, right, the regular app, social media app, getting the first 10 million is the hardest part. But getting the first 100,000 users is like insanely hard. Getting 1 million is hard. 100 million is okay. Getting billion is easy once you cross the threshold, right? That's how the network effect works. Right? It's like with everything else, right? Like in all businesses, starting up is hard and all that, right? So the point is, Hike lost $2 billion overall trying competing to WhatsApp. Nothing happened, zero, right? To go back to your question, Bitcoin has got this network effect. We all think that Bitcoin is valuable. So the next guy who is coming and who wants to put real money, not like the Doge or NFT money, but like real money, right? They're thinking, yeah, I might get only 100% return in Bitcoin after 5 years, which is still super, right? But I might get 1 million% in Doge or some next shitcoin, so they call it shitcoin, right? But the profit is very low, right? So the rich people don't want to take the risk, right? Rich people are like, I want conservative. I want to know, I will invest in something that I think is already working. So as a result of that, there's a very strong network effect of Bitcoin. So it's practically impossible to break. If you ask me personally, right, what's my personal opinion? It's impossible. It's impossible to break it. It's like the ship has sailed. Like the ship has sailed 10, 20 years now, 15 years now. Insanely hard to break that effect. There are other reasons for super mining and all that. The book talks about that. I hope you got the answer, right? Good. Okay, we'll take one last question, guys. I'm hungry. Go ahead.
So if you have 1 lakh cash and you want to invest in gold, would you invest in digital gold or physical gold?
That's not a technical question, yeah, that's an investing question. I will not
Just
answer
I'm
that.
asking as a
No, I will not answer that investment decision thing. Where I talk general stuff, right? That's your personal choice. So if you ask me personally, first what I'll do is I'll make you sit for 5 hours. Talk about what it is, everything, right? We'll do counseling. We'll talk, bring your dad. We'll talk to your dad. Your dad actually patiently listened to me for 5 years. Sorry, not 5 years, 5 hours. Then I'll make you decide the decision. Okay? That's my style. I don't give investment decisions. I give knowledge. Sort of. Okay? Okay, that's the last question. That's not a question, so yeah, last question.
If cryptocurrency is a digital
and all, think outside the box. So Shivani, you were there for the whole session.
Yes.
First, do governments like gold or they don't like gold? Invest. Do they like us to invest in gold or no?
They don't like us to invest in gold, but they invest in gold.
Very smart, right? Very smart. I mean, almost there. Not exactly, right? They invest in gold, but not as much as the money supply is in India. For example, the N2 money supply is 70x. Last year, some 40x higher than the gold they have, right? So if we all went to RBI and said, boss, I have 1 lakh rupees, give me gold, they won't be able to give it, right? Why are they buying gold? Primarily China is buying gold.
Yeah, they are buying gold because they lost trust in US dollars.
Correct, that's the answer. Why are they buying gold? Essentially, central banks want to play the role of having the hard currency in their wallet while providing the digital service for all of us. That is their goal. But why are they not buying Bitcoin Bharat? If they do that, then their role will be diminished, right? You don't need them for settlement. So what is the main role of central banks? It's not holding gold or something. The main
Regulate
role-
money.
Huh?
Regulate money.
That's also not the main role. The crucial purpose that central bank does, what is it?
Currency bank.
Stability.
Why do we need banks? We discussed that, right?
Yes,
What? Transactions. Bank do the transactions. But what does central bank do? What does central bank do?
Keep it. eyes
Govern
on.
them.
Stand.
Govern them and make sure everything is stable.
No.
They make fixed interest rates and
That's the secondary tertiary job. The primary job. What is the primary job? The primary job is settlement. Okay? So when I transfer you money, let's say if you're in HDFC, I'm in HDFC, the HDFC can do it. Squaring of the thing, HDFC can do it. But if you're in Axis Bank, I am in HDFC Bank, how will my bank send you money? Right? So the bigger, it's called central bank, right? It acts as a central node for all the banks. And then central bank what will do is, it will say, okay, Krishna has transferred money to you, Shivani, you're in Axis Bank, he's in HDFC Bank. So at the end of the day, right, I'll do what is called as settlement. So central bank says, okay, fine, you give us money, there's a little complication. But anyway, the point is the primary role of central banks are settlement. So our banking infrastructure, right, even though it looks as if it's run by all the HDFC guys, at the end of it, it's run by RBI. So RBI has a final settlement mandate, right? So they decide who the money should go. For example, you turn out to be terrorist, or I have money, right? So you're the terrorist. RBI can stop. Here, we'll stop because I think this person is terrorist or something, Pakistan, whatever. They have a final settlement authority. So they are the final boss basically, right? In deciding all the financial transactions in the world. So everybody else has to listen to them in a way. Right? Even central governments have to listen. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you guys. I'm tired, so I forgot to have my lunch and all that. So because of time. So we'll take other questions. The next question, yeah. Let's go to the last slide. The last slide. Next slide. Next slide. Yeah. So thank you guys. So you can connect with me and then we'll take other questions after that, right? Yeah, that's my thing. You can scan me or LinkedIn me, you can connect with me or something. Right? Yeah. Thank you. Thanks. Okay, there's a small thing you need to do. Let's go to the next slide. Yeah, just go to App Store. Yeah, go back. Go to your App Store or something, Play Store, and type what is called SwapSo. So they are basically doing the tour and talking to the lecturer a little bit. I will share it now. So he will share it with you. Just download the app, and I think you will share my contact also. LinkedIn, if you want to, or WhatsApp or something. In fact, I have a group, education group called By Bitcoin, so you can join that group also. Ask all your questions, whatever questions you have. I highly encourage it. I'm so obsessed, I keep answering no matter how much you ask. right? So yeah, they have some 400 people in that. So please join that group later. I'll give you the link, right? So yeah. So any other questions you can take it. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Right. So a little bit of this gift, right? I think yeah, I'll give you the problem. So yeah, somebody take this.